Alright, I want to welcome you to the programme. I'm Lorenzo, live for you in the newsroom in Atlanta this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, last week on Wednesday, students nationwide participated in a school walkout, walking out of classes at 10 a.m. local time and protesting gun control and gun reform as a result of the Parkland shooting that killed 17 high school students last month. Now, I had a chance to speak with some of those who were involved in that walkout, and I want to go now to Grace Parzak. She's joining me live from Atlanta this evening. Grace, I want to welcome you to the program. Thank you so much for joining me. How has this shooting in Parkland affected you?
So the day it happened, I was in school when I heard about it. And just as I think any student would feel, I was affected in the sense that I am in school and I got a news alert from you actually, that there was a shooting and 17 people have died in a public school in Florida. Which first of all is very close to us, so we're a state away from Florida, which is very scary. And then you're sitting in a public school thinking, this could happen to me right now. And you hear all these videos and you hear about safety, and suddenly you're walking through the hallways and you hear like a loud footstep that sounds like a gun, and you think, oh my gosh, someone's coming after me. So I think in that way it's affected me in the sense that I don't necessarily walk around feeling scared, but just it's always in the back of my head like it could happen. And that's just something I would thought I'd never have to live with, but it's a reality. And then the other thing that's affected me is nothing's happening really. The people from the high school have been putting out information, and they've organized a national walkout. And so that's all happening, and it's super awesome, but the government, the people who can actually control this, aren't doing anything. So it makes me feel very angry, and I feel also that this is like it's us, it's our problem. It's not happening in like companies, people who are 45, it's happening in schools where people are 15, 14, 16. So it's up to us to do it. So I think I also feel for the first time that I have a voice. Like I can't vote yet, I can vote soon, not yet. So the first time I feel like I have a voice and I have a platform to be more than just a student. So I'm very angry that this is happening, but it's also very nice to be able to get a voice out as like a student body, as like a student nation, which I think is wonderful.
Right, now this incident has motivated many people to walk out of their classes at 10 a.m. And protest gun control. Do you feel that this will change anything?
I do think change can happen. I don't know what that change will be. I don't know if we'll get, I'm probably a pretty extreme liberal, so I don't know if we'll get the change that I would like to see, but I think there will be change, especially once, because right now freshmen are protesting and they can't vote yet. But I think once our generation is able to vote, we will make change happen. I don't know if it's going to happen before then, but I think once we actually have like a legal say in what happens, it will happen. A lot has happened. Companies are backing out of the NRA. They're not taking funding from them anymore, which is awesome. So I do think change already is happening, and I think it will continue to happen, but I don't think to the level that a lot of us are wanting it to happen will happen for a while. I think it's still going to take quite a bit for it to happen. But I think we're finally on the right track for it to happen.
Right, now this is a story gaining national attention at your school, and I just want to play the video after before I ask you the question, but your sister Lily Parzak, which I hope we could speak to in the coming days, along with Leah, who is not your sister, she gave a speech during this demonstration, this walkout on Wednesday, last Wednesday, and a teacher came up and took the speech away from them as they were speaking their minds and giving the speech. And I do want to play this before I ask you the question, so that our viewers can see what exactly happened.
Lawmakers should not be putting our political careers ahead of our children's lives. Woo! Placing donations above education or forcing victims to fight rather than recover.
There comes a point where thoughts and prayers aren't good enough anymore. No tweet or post will stop a 19-year-old from buying an assault rifle. There's no reason that it should be harder to get a driver's license than it is to get a gun. However, there is a solution, and that solution is gun control.
We want gun control, not armed teachers. The Third Amendment states that no soldier can be quartered in any house without consent of the owner. This amendment is not relevant anymore, so why does the Second Amendment have to be relevant? The Founding Fathers wrote this at a time of war and people needed arms to protect themselves from the government. Now the U.S. Armed Forces makes it possible for us to be safe without needing automatic weapons in our homes.
We are not saying that the right to bear arms should be taken away. We are saying it needs to be limited.
Guys, we're here for a peaceful demonstration on unity. It's not the place at school for
A
political.
speech
We're
is
giving
peaceful.
We're giving you a forum.
It's a protest. It's not a memorialization. It's a protest.
Right, and there you hear the kids chanting "Let us speak," clearly wanting them to voice their opinion. Grace, what were you? This was your sister to the left of your screen. What were you thinking when your sister was silenced, when the paper was taken away from her, essentially silenced?
So they had written the speech that they said at the table, and then the day before the walkout Tuesday, they were told they could no longer give the speech. So the first thing when she told me all this was happening Tuesday night, my first thought was, that's insane, like that's censorship, and they should do something about it. And so then she asked me if she thought it'd be a good idea for her and Leah to do something, and I was like, I'm not going to get involved. I think it's up to you. I think it would be awesome, but it's up to you. And so when she first started making the speech on the stage during the demonstration, I thought, she's doing it, that's super awesome, so I was filming it. And then when they shut down, I was like, okay, at least they tried to do it, like they'll be fine. And then they got up on the table, and my first thought was, this is incredible, like that's my sister. Like I could never felt more like happy that she's part of my family than that moment, which sounds pretty bad, but it was exciting. And so then my first thought when I saw the paper get ripped away, my first thought was, it was more just like what I expected. Like I wasn't surprised that that's what happened, because I figured that what happened. I actually didn't think they'd make it that far through the speech. And then someone behind me yelled, a speech is peaceful, and then someone else yelled, let her speak. And that's what I was surprised by, that the crowd was rising up and they were saying things like on our side, that they were supporting my sister, and just making that change. Like them saying that is probably the reason that it's getting so much attention. Like if we just stayed silent, nothing had happened, I don't think it'd be getting attention. But because the student body was affected by it and were like protesting that's what I was amazed by. So the speech itself, I was kind of expecting my sister to do it because that's what she is. She's very loud, very powerful. But the students' response to the speech getting taken was what I was very impressed with.
Wonderful. All right, Grace Palzak, 12th grader at Cambridge High School in Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. All right, we are going to take a short break, but coming up I'm going to be talking with a teacher at Cambridge High School where this incident took place, and we're going to talk about safety as well. Stay tuned.